Hey y'all, made a little progress on our fuel injection to carbureted project, so this ought to get you back up to speed. So we're going to do a little welding. I got a MIG. This is like a Northern Tool 135 that plugs into a regular 120 outlet. So nothing fancy. This is how this whole car was put together. So we're going to weld up that motor mount support. And then we got to do a little welding on, I have a plate in the back that holds the fuel pumps. And I'll show you that here in a bit. So I'm just welding a little support plate into the motor mount. I had to trim this mount to make the headers fit. And this is just to replace a little bit of the metal that was taken out. Well, we got the motor mounts welded up and the headers are in place, so we're going to go ahead and take the intercooler out of this thing since it'll be on E85 now. And it's hard to tell from this photo, but that intercooler weighs about 36 pounds. So again, let's take a look, see how much this thing weighs. It's mostly full of water. Let's see how much is in here so we can kind of get an idea of. So it's full about halfway up the pump, which was about normal after the ice melted. So this is about race weight. And let's see what it is. It is pretty heavy. It is right at 40 pounds. So I did not expect that intercooler to be that heavy. But, I mean, I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, that's over 80 pounds we've taken out of the car. And last time we weighed this thing, it was 3085 race weight. So this thing will probably be under 3,000 pounds now with all this stuff taken out of it. All right, guys. So I got this thing marked where I'm going to cut it on both sides. There's a double steel plate in the front, so I'm going to try and cut it a little bit below that double steel plate. First I'm going to take the whiz wheel and just cut that lower balance. It's kind of all screwed up here. It's all busted up. Anyway, so I'm just going to cut that whole little section off there, and then we'll cut it there and cut it there, and hopefully that whole lower radiator support will just come falling out onto the ground. At least that's the master plan. And we're going to try and do that with a reciprocating saw. So let's give it a shot. Well, we got the one side cut. Sorry, didn't have the camera rolling. Let's see if we can get this side. There we go. Well, there we go. It's out. We're going to set it on the scale to see how much weight this is. It's not very heavy, so I don't expect it to be a lot. And yeah, it's only what it is, about looks like about 6 pounds. I also ended up taking the front bumper support out of the car. Between that and the brackets for the marker lights, it was about 32 pounds.
So we're pretty close to 115 pounds out of the car. That's pretty significant.
Well, guys, sometimes the best laid plans just don't work out. So I was hoping to just reuse this portion here and attach it to the header, but because it's got this funny angle to it, it's kind of hard to see on the camera, but it is not square to the frame rail. Therefore the turbo sits crooked and the exhaust hits over here, and you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but that is pointing in the wrong direction. So this whole thing is not going to work out. So it looks like I'm going to have to rebuild this entire thing from scratch. So we will take this up another day because I'm going to have to get another flange and start over. So with the exhaust exiting on the right side, I can put the turbo here. It will point directly, and you see where the flange sits to the back side, which gives me a lot more room to build the exhaust. If I put it on the way it was, we have to do something like this. And then the flange is on the inside, and so is the nozzle, which you can see makes everything so much more tighter. So I think we'll put the radiator somewhere in this vicinity and the turbo in the center, directly lined up with the hat, and we'll exit the exhaust. I hate to cut a hole in the other fender, but sometimes you got to do these things. So I think that's the route we're going to go. So we're going to move on to the fuel system here. I have made this plate that the current pump sits on. It actually has a little barb on it for a second pump, but I'm changing the angle of the second pump, so we got to fix that. So we're going to take this off and mount the second pump, and we'll make up I think I already have another line to run to the second pump, and we'll see if we can get that stuff set up today. So this is the setup for the fuel pump, and it had another one at that weird angle, but I'm going to try and get them closer to side by side this time. So we're going to cut this off and straighten it out and mount the second pump. This is an AEM 400. I believe this one's a 380. They don't make the 380s anymore. The new one's a 400, so it's going to have a 380 and a 400. That's that. We just tack that down on both ends. So it's strong enough to support just keeping that fuel pump in place.
So that's kind of the setup. It's got these two rails, and we got some plumbing couplers from Home Depot that are 2-inch that fit perfectly around the 044 style pump. The worm clamps hold it in place. They Y into a -10, and that's what feeds the regulator up front. So we got that plumbed as well, which has -6 lines going to the carburetor on either side. Now on to building the hot side.
So what I've done is taken a 180, the
just like this, and cut it in half. And I'm marking them to be half of that, straight up and down, and the plan is to weld them together into a merge like that. So, let's give it a shot. Since I don't have a bandsaw or anything like that, I cut these things with a little air saw from Harbor Freight, which works okay, and then clean them up with a grinding wheel. And in the end, I end up with a pretty decent looking merge. Until, of course, I start welding on it, and then it looks like this. Yeah, so I already have the heat wrap to cover up all those ugly welds. But basically it ends up looking like this. I do have a flex pipe coming for it. The wastegate was put into the merge like that. And you can kind of get an idea of what the cold side's going to look like, something like that. But you can see this does put the turbo in the center with the exit out the passenger side. And that's where I'm at. We're finished welding up this hot side, and then I got some ideas about putting the radiator down like this at an angle in the corner. I think that might work out good. Let me know what you all think in the comments.